should never go live with food in your mouth. Oh well. Hi everybody, Tobias here from Knife Chats with Tobias, and yeah, I was just eating a cracker and didn't realize that the live stream was going to kick on as quickly as it did. That's the way life goes. Fortunately, no one was here to see that, so we'll wait a little bit and see some people show up. Yay, we got somebody. Hi, whoever you are. Yeah, I was just eating something, so that was not fun. Any case, I do have some things I want to show you. I'm going to start off by showing a couple new to me knives. One of them was from a fan of the channel, and the other one is one I picked up. Hi, Luke's Knife Point of View. You might be the first one. If nothing else, you're definitely the first one to leave a comment. Any case, what I have are two knives here. One of them is from a fan of the channel. That's the front one here. And this second one back here, hi James. This second one is one that I picked up at a flea market in Shelbyville, Indiana, just a few days ago. Actually, I picked up two knives there, but only one of them is really worth looking at, and that's this one here. But we're going to start with this one because this one came from a fan of the channel, and that is Lamar Fan. He contacted me during a premiere that I did, so it was kind of an almost live where I shot the video and then I joined people for the chat, and he mentioned he had a knife for me, told me what knife it was, hi Prop Blast, and said it was by US Classics. And if you're following the comments, then you probably saw that what this knife is. I've seen photos of it already, but I haven't seen the actual knife. But his note to me was, hope this adds to your wonderful collection, and God bless. And again, this is from Lamar Fan, a fan of the channel, and it is a Congress knife. I don't have a lot of Congress knives. Well, some people would argue that I have more than most do, but I saw this one, I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's kind of like a saw cut bone. It's a red bone, and if you notice, it's some deep grooves going on there. It is cool. I really do like it. Now, the first time I saw one of these Congress knives from US Classic, it was on, if anyone remembers, there was KY Knives, which was Kentucky Knives, which was an eBay channel. It used to sell all sorts of Rough Riders, US Classics, and basically a ton of other knives that were made in China, including the Frost brands and stuff like that. And it was actually on KY Knives that I got some of my very first Rough Rider knives that I ever picked up, not realizing at that time that they were made in China. Picked them up and it's like, oh man, this is made in China. And it's like, wow, that's pretty cool, you know, because the quality of the build was really impressive. And then I started picking up some of the US Classic knives, and US Classics had a bad reputation, especially on Blade Forum, and it was mainly because of the name, US Classics. And then it says on here, designed in Salt River, Kentucky. You see there, 2005. That's when these knives were coming out and everything. And they got just creamed all over the place because, well, the box doesn't say made in China. But the knives are definitely made in China. They're most likely made in the same factory that the Rough Riders were made in. I don't know for certain on that, but the quality of the build was just fantastic. In any case, what KY Knives called these knives, he referred to them as a high boy Congress. And ever since then, I've also referred to them as a high boy. I don't really know if that's a real term or not, but it's a good description for it. And it's because of how high the blades stand on these knives compared to the skinnier Congress knives. So the blades aren't nearly as thick, they don't ride up as high or anything like that. but I really do like these. And this is the second one I have from US Classics. In the very front, you have the pen blade, which is very typical of a Congress knife. Then on the other side, you have the sheepfoot blade, and you see here US Classics, and then on the back side there, US Classics again. And if you look really close right into here, this will actually say made in China around the little hound dog there. I like the little hound dog on the box too. But in any case, that's where it says made in China, somewhere in the very small stamping there. So they really didn't push the China part. And they caught a lot of flack over that. In any case, on the back side, looking almost the same, you have the coping blade, which is what I really do like to see on a Congress knife. I want to see the Congress knife with the coping blade and the small pen blade, and then the two sheepfoot blades. And that's the other sheepfoot blade you have over here. Now, so it is like two sheepfoot blades and a coping blade, all with that straight level or a straight cutting edge there. And the reason they do that is, well, this was known as a tobacco knife and also as a whittler. This was a knife that was very common in the South, especially around tobacco and everything, and the tobacco farms and stuff. The knife was very common, and it is one of those Southern knives. There's a couple reasons people call it a Congress. I go with the first thing I ever heard. A lot of people talk about it being like the two equal houses of Congress in the United States. I think of it more as the other term for Congress, and why Congress is called the Congress. And Congress basically means the coming of together. So things from opposite sides coming together, and that is what you have in the Congress knife with the two main blades. You have two similar blades of equal length, and they come together in the center. And that's why I think of it as a Congress. Yeah, does it really, is that the real reason for it? That's what I think it is. And then other people say no, it's because Congress and the United States Congress, and that's why you have the senator and all this other stuff, which is the senator is a two-bladed basically penknife with two small blades coming into the center. Well, I think the senator is a play on the Congress. That's my feeling. I don't know which one came first, but I believe the Congress is older. The Congress, if you saw my other video on this is a very common knife by the 1860s in the United States. It predates that by quite some time. Might have been around as far back as possibly the War of 1812 or even the Revolutionary War here in the United States. So it is a very old knife. Yep, Abraham Lincoln, Luke's knife point of view. I'll be showing that one in just a little bit. But just wanted to talk about this one, and you can see here the build quality of this is just fantastic. You've got the single ring bolsters here, nickel silver bolsters. You got the nickel silver shield. It is just a bar type shield, or this one would sometimes be referred to as a hot dog shield because of the little bumps on the end, or is also known as a scroll shield. And this was something where you could actually engrave your initials or something on there. And we already saw the blades. Is there probably some catching on these blades? Yeah, you can see it here. And that's also very common on a Congress knife, that you will end up getting a little blade touching. My mind, it's not blade wrap. The blades aren't hitting the bottom. But yeah, blade rub, that's the word that everyone likes to use, blade rub. You will have some blade rub on there, especially because when you press, it's going to push the blade in, which is typical. So if you wanted to avoid any of the blade rub, you'd have to open up the blade first. Open up the inside blade first. But not too concerned about it. Frost does make some good Congress knives. I got a couple of Frost knives here that I'll be showing in a little bit. But before I go into the Congress knives, and I'll look at this one a little bit more in a little bit, let me look at the other knife I got here too. And because I think I'll talk less about Congress knives, or more about Congress knives than I do this, but I want to get this one out of the way. This is the one I saw at the flea market in Shelbyville. I think it was called Me and My Sister Flea Market. It's a permanent location there. And it's right off the expressway, right off of I-65. So that was good. In any case, this is one of the From the Heart knives, pocket knives from Rough Rider. You can see it here. Now, this time it didn't do any good, but originally when they were selling these knives, these portion of the proceeds of the knife sales went to the University of Tennessee Medical Center. And in this case, it went towards cardiology there. They also made other ones. There was the From the Heart, there was the breast cancer series, and also the one for the Man series, which was for prostate cancer. Because I think Kevin Pipes came down with prostate cancer, and that's why the Man knives came about. But we also see the Heart one here. And this is a itty bitty Barlow, a baby Barlow. And I saw it, and it's like, you know what? I think I'm going to grab that because I have other knives from the Heart series. Yeah, the 3-inch baby Barlow, single blade, and they were selling it for a song, so I went ahead and grabbed it because I didn't have one. And it's almost it's a nice little fifth pocket knife, I guess you'd say. And you got the little hard shield on there, the beautiful red bone. You got the this is smooth red bone, the Rough Rider double R horseshoe shield up on top, and it's really nicely matched, the red bone, and really good action. And these knives came out, I'm saying, about 15-20 years ago. I think that's where they were. And you see here brass liners, nickel silver bolsters, 448 stainless steel blade, and you have the red etch on there for support the cause. And in this case, the cause was heart disease. So I got that one. I also have another one. This one is a little more tomatoey red. You can guess why I picked this one up. This was the bartender knife. Yeah, you know what? You probably shouldn't be drinking if you have heart disease. Anyway, at least not too much. But I bought that one because I already had this one. And you see the same thing here, support the cause. You got the Rough Rider script shield, or script tank stamp going on there. Nice long pull. These were copied straight from the ones that you had that Case made off of their jackknife. So you've got the pin blade and the longer Spearmaster blade there, and then the label cutting blade here, which is basically a nice little hawkbill blade, small hawkbill blade, which is useful for more than just cutting labels off of a wine bottle. This would also work very well for cutting twine and all sorts of other stuff, for electrical work, things like that, scoring drywall. It is just a nice little hawkbill. Not a deep hawkbill, but it is a little hawkbill blade. A great package opener too. And obviously the last thing you have on there is the corkscrew. I got that one because this is really what got me into picking up the all of the for the cause knives from Rough Rider, because of the bartender knife here. This wasn't the first one I picked up. This actually was the third in the series. I believe the first in the series was this one, which was the breast cancer series, which was in pink smooth bone, and this was one of the first pink bone knives I picked up, and I picked it up because of breast cancer awareness. And then you have the heart one, like I said, the heart disease awareness was the third in the series, not the second. And then the man series was in the middle, and this was for prostate cancer. You see the little stick figure of a man there. And this is in beautiful blue smooth bone. But otherwise, it is just basically all three of these were the bartender knives that they had in the series. They had two other knives in that series as well. I did not see a from the heart series in this, but this was the breast cancer awareness pen knives, and these are equal in pen knives, but they're with a textured aluminum cover, so it's kind of like the Sentry or the Pocket Pal that you get from Victorinox, and this one I think is 74 millimeters or 3 inches. Let me see where. Yeah, I'm gonna need this. I think this is 3 inches or a little more than 3 inches. Yeah, more than 3 inches. This is almost 3 1/4, 3 3/8 inches long, and you have the Spearmaster blade. Again, support the cause. They're all the support the cause knives. This was the man knife, like I mentioned, with the pin blade and the Spearmaster blade, a little bar on the back for engraving. And yeah, they are actually extremely well built. You've got the little key ring here, and then this was the breast cancer awareness, support the cause. Again, the same textured aluminum going on there. And these sold for a very, very low price, but really just a fantastic knife. Again, 440A in the stainless steel blade. You can see there the Rough Rider signatures tank stamp, which is one of the earliest tank stamps they used. Like I said, I think these date from about 15, 20 years ago, at least 15, most likely 20. This is nicely engraved into there too. So I got a few of these now, and once I came across this one, it's like, do I really want to pick this up? Because if I pick this up, I know what I'm going to want to do. I'm going to have to start looking for the breast cancer awareness Barlow and the man Barlow, and yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing now, because this is a nice little knife, and it's yeah, it's only 3 inches long, but it's still pretty cool. It's interesting. A lot of people have commented on the Barlow series that I've been doing, that 3 3/8 inches is just too small for their hand, and that's why they don't like the Barlow. They need to get that 4-inch Barlow out there. A 4-inch handle on a Barlow with a 3-inch blade. And I agree, they really do need to consider doing that. I think it would be nice to have the standard length 3 3/8 inch Barlow, the baby Barlow at 3 inches, a 4-inch medium Barlow, and then the daddy Barlow at the 5 inches. I missed that thing about the Swiss Champ. I should have been paying more attention. Sorry I missed a lot of the comments. I'm trying to show the knife, and I really need to find somebody who can act as a moderator for me. But anyway, I said I was going to go back to the Congress knives, and that's what I'm going to do now because, oh, where did it go? Fell off the box because of this one. Someone had mentioned that the grooves in here, it is really cool. Someone had mentioned, oh, there is one out there. Did Rough Rider make a tiger stripe Barlow? They might have. And I think Frost made one in tiger stripe too. And the Frost one actually has the tiger lines going into the bolsters. I can't remember. I don't have either of those. But I do have, like I mentioned, another one from U.S. Classics, and it's the very first knife I picked up from U.S. Classics, and this is still to this day remains one of my favorite Congress knives from anyone, and that's because of the Tiger Eye acrylic on here. You can see the brass pins; they do go all the way through, and then we have it on the back side, more of the Tiger Eye and the brass liners. And as you can see, both of these knives, look at the build quality there. There's no gapping or anything. They're just perfect. The build was just fantastic on both of these. Now, this one, you can see a difference in the shield. That was something that U.S. Classics did quite a bit of. Depending on what bone they were using, they matched the shield for that particular bone or acrylic. And so there are other Tiger Eye knives also had this same shield, I believe, just the bar shield. And these were really nice. Well, stay on the box. And as you can see, blades are still the same and everything else. U.S. Classic. Don't need to show these blades because they're the same as what you have on there. There's the pen, and there's the coping, and then the two sheepfoot blades. So these are my only two U.S. Classics, and really like both of them. And let's move into something else. Now these are let's grab these two first. This is typical of what you have from Rough Rider. These are the well, one of these is Rough Rider. One of these is not Rough Rider. I should mention that too. This one is by Rough Rider. I believe this one's Rough Rider. Yep, this one is by Rough Rider. This is in the hi Stan. This is in the Stonework series. And you can see there why it's called the Stonework series. You have the Black Mother of Pearl in the middle there, and then you have, I believe that's abalone on the outside. Yeah, abalone on the two outside portions here. Then the Bloody Basin Jasper, what some people call red turquoise, which just drives me nuts because of the stone that they're copying there. Even though this is imitation, it would have been a Bloody Basin jasper. It's a specific kind of jasper that is found in Arizona. And then next up is the yellow jasper. And then finally you have actual turquoise or synthetic turquoise going on there. And notice the bolsters here. And then if you notice this knife, it has very similar bolsters. But this knife is not from Rough Rider. This knife is from Schrade. This was in the Schrade. I grabbed the box and pulled it out so I wouldn't forget the name of it. It's the Classic series, I think. Where did I put the box? I had the box right here. Yeah, a custom series, the Schrade Custom series, and tell me those knives don't look very similar, just the stones are organized slightly different. Yep, Taylor Schrade, exactly. However, the knives in this series, the Schrade Custom series, I found out last year that these knives came out around the same time as the Stoneworks knives came out. These were in the Rough Rider line. These came out in the Schrade line. And guess what? Brian Wilhoit designed both of these. These were produced for Schrade through SMKW. And that is why all they basically did is say, well, we'll just grab the same knives. We'll just rearrange these stones in there. So now I'm actually looking for more of the custom series knives, but like the Stonework series knives, these are also fairly expensive on the secondary market if you're trying to get the older versions of them. But you can see here, same turquoise, same Bloody Basin jasper, same yellow jasper. This one has the extra abalone here, but both of these have a mother of pearl in the middle. And both of them are using, looks like black lip mother of pearl. So that was pretty cool. Thought that would be interesting to point out, though, that, and I do have a couple of the other Schrade knives, but the other thing I wanted to show on this is the difference in the handles. Notice these are both about the same height or same length, but if you notice the Schrade or the Rough Rider, either one of them, because of how slender they are and how deep the blades drop, this knife is about as high as this handle. And let's pull out a sheep foot on here. Notice how thin that is, and notice how wide that one is. So that is a big difference simply by making this handle what looks like about maybe 3/8 of an inch wider than this handle, maybe 3/16. It isn't 3/16, more like 3/16, not 3/8. Because the whole handle is probably a half inch, and this is probably 3/8, something like that. In any case, you can see the difference in those sheep foot blades. Matter of fact, let's keep this sheep foot blade out and pull out this coping blade. Notice something? The coping blade is almost as thick. Actually, it might be, yeah, it's almost as thick as the sheep foot and almost as long as the sheep foot blade. Simply because this handle is that much wider. So that's why I kind of like these better. It's definitely a heavier carry in your pocket, but you've got a lot more blade in there. I know a lot of other people would say, no, I'd rather have this. You still got the cutting edges going on. Not as long of a cutting edge, but you still got a good cutting edge going on with it. And this is slimmer and not as heavy in the pocket. So that's the trade-off between the fatter handle and the wider blades, or the bigger bellied blades on the what I first learned as a high boy Congress, and this was known to me as a slimline Congress. I don't know if those names are true or not, but that's where I got it from. Any case, let's move on to the other one. This was what we had later with the Congress from the Stonework series. This is the second Stonework series. You can tell the difference between the first and second Stonework series by the bolsters. A lot of the second series, they have the slanted bolster. They've got the pinch going on the bolster. This one is more decorative on the bolster, but also you'll start seeing malachite added, or an imitation malachite added to the some of the newer Stoneworks knives, so they'll have an extra color going in there, because the original ones only had the blue, yellow, and red, and then abalone and pearl. The later ones have all of these colors sometimes, or sometimes they will substitute out one of these colors for the green malachite. You notice here it's got the abalone going on, but no pearl on this one. The interesting thing with this one, though, is besides the half stop, you have a spear master blade on one side, and you have a sheep foot on the other side. So those are the two main blades you have on this one. They don't quite match up, but this is something you see in a lot of Congress knives, though. You'll see a lot of them that will have a spear blade and a large sheep foot blade going on. The other thing that this has, which bothers me a little bit, is it has two pin blades. I wish they would have put a coping blade and a pin blade and the spear blade and the sheep foot on this. But again, this is by Rough Rider, and again, really well made. This was during the time of the RYDER. This would have probably been similar to the Congress knives in the old Colt SMKW series, because the RYDER Rough Riders were the knives that Rough Rider started making when Colt no longer made knives. So in any case, I did a video on that already too. But in any case, that's where this is. That's why it's got the half stops. It's all the new stuff that Rough Rider started doing. Let's see. Yeah. Here's another. Oops. Just hitting everything today. Here's another one. This is one that Frost loves to do, and they call this the Kentucky Congress. And as you can tell, if you're looking up from above, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's got a middle blade in there. So on the front side, you got the pin blade and a sheepfoot blade. On the back side, you've got a pin blade and a sheepfoot blade. And then down the middle, and this is what makes it the Kentucky Congress. I'm not even sure. I think this is white smooth bone. Luke, I think it's white smooth bone. I'm not sure. And this is actually by Pride Cutlery. I don't know if Pride Cutlery is part of Frost or if it is part of Scuzzo. But the middle blade here is a kind of funky clip blade with a very straight edge on the bottom there, almost all the way to the tip. If you notice, it barely starts to curve up right at the tip, if we can see it right there. Otherwise, it's got a very long straight edge on the blade. And I believe this, I don't know if this is something that Jim Parker came up with or Jim Frost came up with, or if it's a pattern that they brought back from the dead or something like that. But it's known as the Kentucky Congress because of the fifth blade, the clip blade that is running down the middle. And because of that, then you have 3 back springs going on as opposed to 2 back springs. I would show you my Congress Whittler, which is a 3-blade Congress, but I can't find that right now, and I can't find my, or do I have it over here? No, don't have it here either. I have 2 other Congresses that I can't show you, but I will show eventually. One of them is a 2-blade Congress from Camillus, which is an imitation abalone, and that one has just the sheepfoot blade and a pin blade, I believe. The Congress Whittler has the sheepfoot blade, and then mine came with 2 pin blades, but I changed one of them out, and I re-profiled one of them and turned it into a coping blade. But in any case, this is one by Frost. Let me get into that. This is the Steel Warrior, and this is in one of my favorite jigging patterns from Frost. This one is in the alligator jig pattern. They also have one in crocodile. The difference between the crocodile and the alligator is the alligator is in green and the crocodile is in brown. And otherwise, this has your basic blade, your sheepfoot blade, and you got the long pull there, but it is not a long match strike pull, which nice to see something without the match strike pull occasionally, you know. The Steel Warrior logo on the blade there, and Steel Warrior there on the tank stamp, and Steel Warrior there. So you know who made it. And then in the front, you've got the coping blade, which is a little different than what you see on a lot of other ones. It seems like often the pin blade is up front, I thought. Hard to tell on something like this because, well, don't know which side it is unless you have it in the front. Here we go. Yeah, so this is almost made backwards because typically what you have is, no, I guess not. I don't know. Anyway, it's almost made backwards. There's the sheepfoot, and then we flip it over and we have the other sheepfoot, Steel Warrior, and the pin blade. But what I really like on this one, again, look at how the build quality on this is really good. The only thing I worry about on this knife, like I worry about with most Frost knives, is the shield popping off, because I think they use old bubble gum to hold the shields on Frost knives. Not 100% sure, but they shed shields like you would not believe. And so it's almost to the point sometimes if I feel like I can pop the shield off, I will pop it off and then just re-glue it back on with some Gorilla Glue or something. I agree. Same with case. I've had a few case knives shed shields. I've also had Baron Sun. Baron Sun has lost more shields than Frost for me, tell you the truth. And what I do is I try to find the shield and then I put it back on using Gorilla Glue, and it usually holds much better. But I really like the bone on this one, and this is one of those bones that I actually look for from Frost and Company. I like to look for the crocodile jig and the alligator jig bone because it just well, it's got a nice color to it. Both of them have a really rich color to it, and the jigging is just so different than what you normally see. Let's see here. Another one. This is known as the Lincoln Congress. This is also by Frost. The reason it's called a Lincoln Congress is because it's a 6-blade Congress. Now, this does not have the 6 blades that Lincoln's Congress knife had, but typically any Congress that has 6 blades is often referred to as a Lincoln Congress. And this one is in wonderful elk horn or elk stag, whatever you want to call it. This is a European elk antler for the stag on there, and it is just gorgeous. And then it has the sunburst bolsters on here, which are very decorative and look really nice. And look at the build on the back of this. And this one I think is odd because it is by Whitetail Cutlery. If we can see there, Whitetail Cutlery, which is not a Frost brand that is known for making pocket knives. Most of the Whitetail knives are made by, most of the Whitetail knives are actual fixed blades, but I guess Frost got confused and decided to put out the Whitetail Cutlery and a few of the pocket knives. Yeah, this is another Frost brand. But the blade choices on here are pretty interesting. I like the, you got the coping blade right here. Next blade up is a clip blade, small clip blade. And then you have the sheepfoot blade. And then on the other side, you have the other sheepfoot blade. And then we have the pin blade that you would expect to see. And finally, a Wharncliffe blade. And this knife is just, the build quality on this one is just absolutely amazing. And the fact that they used elk horn on it really just really made it really great. And you notice right there, that is the pin. Obviously, it's the pin. But because of the sunburst going around it, it kind of looks cool. You know, you don't mind seeing the pin, and because of the sunburst going around it. It's just, you know, really well thought out and just a fantastic knife. This is one of my favorite knives, definitely my favorite knife by Frost. I mean, and it's in stag on top of everything else. The 6-blade, it's just a great knife. It rivals any other knife I have, you know, it rivals quite a few knives, even knives made here in the United States. I would put this up against several of the knives I have by Case. The action on this is better than some of the knives I have from Case. Hard to say, but it is true. And this stag looks better than some of the stag I have on knives from Great Eastern Cutlery. And that is really saying something about that knife, considering I think this was like a $25, $30 knife when it first came out. And I guess I'll have one more I'll show, and then I'm going to pretty much call it a day there. This is one from Marbles. This was in the Wildlife series. I showed I showed what one, oh, the Barlow in the Wildlife series already. That was the one that had the raccoons on it. Well, this one has the mountain lion, and what you have is white smooth bone here, and then you have black acrylic and a nickel silver spacer, and then you have a little piece of stag up on top here. Again, probably European elk antler, and then the nickel silver bolsters going on, and it's as you can see, it's a little bit bigger than the other Barlows I have. This is a biggie. I think it comes in at 4 inches. Yeah, I think it's 4 inches, maybe a little more. Yeah, 4 1/8 inches long. This Barlow comes in at. So it's a doozy of one, and it has the sheep foot on this side and a sheep foot on this side. Action on this is really good too. You got the marbles blade edge going on there, which marbles used to do with everything. Notice also half stops going on, and this knife is about 15 years ago from marbles. You've got the pin blade here, and then the other side also has a pin blade. So you end up with 2 sheep foot blades and 2 pin blades on this one. Brass pins, brass spacers and liners going on, and stainless steel back springs and 440A on the stainless steel blades. So really nice one. And then you've got the laser etching going on, you know, for the scrimshaw work of a mountain lion. And that's why I picked it up, because it's like you just don't find many big cats on knives. And I saw this, it's like, all right, I'm going to grab it. I wanted it. I was actually at SMKW at the time when I bought this, so I do know, and that was my very first trip there, and this was one of the knives I went there looking for. It's like, yeah, I want to get the mountain lion, and I want to get the raccoon in the series. It was like, I think I had a third knife in that series too, but I gave it to someone. Don't regret giving it to them. It was something that they really needed, it's one of those things like, you know what, it means more to them for a variety of reasons. So I was happy to trade with them, but this one I'm kind of happy with because of the because right there, I like that. German Creek is now a Frost brand. That is true. Well, if the question was, is German Creek a Frost brand? The answer is yeah, Frost owns it now. I have a list. I did a video a while back on all the trademarks that Frost owns. And I also did a video on all the trademarks that are owned by Smoky Mountain Knife Works. I will try and leave a comment and pin it to this message. That'll link, that will provide links to those two. I wanted to do an entire series on that with these are other trademarks that are owned by like what's that other company? Scuzzo, who Scuzzo owns, the brands of Elk Ridge and several other companies. You'd be amazed at how many brands are basically, yeah, same knife, different brand, you know, but same company making it. Such as, you know, Frost, there's actually Frost family. Then you have the Steel Warrior lineup, the Black Hills, Whitetail Cutlery, what is it, Silver Stag, oh man, I can't think of all of them because there's so many of them. But yeah, Frost owns something like 90 different trademarks out there. SMKW is around 20 or so. Like if you're looking at us, obviously there's the Rough Rider line. They do not own Marbles. Marbles is actually owned by Blue Ridge, but all of the Marbles knives that are made in China are made through the Rough Rider factory, so they are contracted through through Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Blue Ridge and SMKW have a very incestuous relationship. A lot of knives that Rough Rider, not Rough Rider, but SMKW makes. Some of them are contracted through Blue Ridge, and same thing goes with Blue Ridge. Blue Ridge owns a trademark, but they have SMKW make the knife forms, things like that. And that's not uncommon, as we know, because back in the day, Imperial made knives for all sorts of companies, and Camillus was actually known as the knife maker's knife maker, because Camillus made knives for everyone, including like Buck and also Imperial. And sometimes Imperial made knives for Camillus, or they would make parts of knives and say, all right, you make this blade and we'll make that blade, and then we'll just, you make it for us, we'll make it for you, and then and it'll be just like a reciprocal agreement, and so on and so forth. And that's why you see things like a Strade here being made by Rough Rider, and it's really a lot of the stuff, they did it because it was the way to stay in business. A lot of people talked about the one of the big savers for Camillus for so long was that they had all these government contracts. Well, the from what I understand from listening about Camillus, like all those knives that they were making for the government, they were making like a half a penny per knife. And if it wasn't for the fact that they were also able to sell those knives to the civilian market, they would have gone bankrupt. It was the only positive thing about having the government contract was they could say, this is the same knife that is being used by our military, and people would buy them in the Army, Navy stores and other places, because it was the knife that the Army, if it's good enough for the Army, it's good enough for me, that kind of thing. So that's really, and the same thing was with the case with the Boy Scout knives. They did not make a big profit off of Boy Scout knives. Matter of fact, the original company that made knives for the Boy Scouts, back in the days when it was the New York Knife Company that was located in Walden, New York, the only year they made a profit off of the Boy Scout knife was the very first year that they were made. After that, every year they made those knives at a loss. But the owner of New York Knife Company refused to raise the price of the knives because he felt that Boy Scouts needed a quality knife at a decent price. So he actually lost money on the Boy Scout knives, made up the money on other knives that he was making. So you would find the official Boy Scout knife selling for like $1, and then you would see the exact same knife, but not an official Boy Scout knife, selling for $1.50, because that knife was at least breaking a profit. That's how it was. So there's a lot that goes into selling knives, and one of the things is getting people hooked. And that's why for the longest time, the only knives I'd buy is Camillus, because I bought, I had the knife that I used in the Army, and I really liked it. And it's like, well, I'm just going to keep buying another Camillus knife because I know what it is and I like it. So even though it was more expensive outside of the Army by quite a bit, it was still worthy of my time to buy it, so. And I think that's really the idea that the original guy from the New York Knife Company had also, is if the Boy Scouts like this knife from New York Knife Company, the Hammer brand, they will grow up and they will continue to buy Hammer brand knives. I don't know, I guess that's it worked for him for a while, but then I think in 1933 his company finally went under, and right up until the end he never raised the price on the Boy Scout knife. Can't say that for everyone else, but that was the case for him. And that is also, I need to go into more about the Boy Scout knife history too, I guess. But I'll do that in another video because there is some really fascinating things about Boy Scout knives that people don't get. Uh, right up to the point of why they started making them in China and why it wasn't that big of a deal, even though a lot of people thought it was. Any case, that's a subject for another day. I hope you enjoyed this bit of a ramble, and I hope you enjoyed looking at the Congress knives and also the for the cause knives. And I'd also like to take one more time to say thank you to Lamar Fan for sending me this knife. It's really cool, and I really do like it. And the build quality is fantastic. Thank you for parting with it, and thank you for sending it my way. I really do appreciate it. And for all you guys out there watching and gals, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. And well, if you're catching it on the flip flop later, hope you enjoy it there too. Talk to you again soon. Don't forget to give that old like and a comment if you can do that. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Really does appreciate it. Thanks again, and I will talk to you again soon.